Hello there, everybody. This is a verbal summary by Phil Morton about this slideshow. It's a great regional structure that supports free improvisation, and that the first duty of care for any organisation that purports to do this is to provide weekly sessions. This is a recent mindset I've come to, or decision, given that I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. Let's try and move through the slides. Weekly sessions, why? There is a legitimate point that free improvisation cannot be taught. I won't unpick that. There may be a response, but that is a legitimate point of view, and that you learn it by doing it. And that is true. And so, on reflection, this has come from Oxford improvisers, really, and what I know about them, where they have weekly sessions, and the attendance is quite high, but that was achieved over time. And coming back to this weekly idea is what I've experienced in the fracture days and the recent days, that running monthly sessions, people may miss a session, so therefore it could be 3 months before they come back. And given that it's unlikely they experience free improvisation anywhere else on a regular basis, if they're attending local sessions every 3 months, and you learn it by doing it, developing confidence and composure in the genre of free improvisation is going to be tested, or slow. So it's come to my mind that Fracture should have delivered weekly sessions, and it didn't. And therefore, where I am now is I say that's what we should do. I'll move on. And this section is about why monthly is not enough, that individuals will miss the second Tuesday of a month, and therefore they have to wait another month for the next second Tuesday of a month, and this will not work. And as one commentator said to me, momentum will be lost, let's call it thin, and so the frequency of opportunity needs to be weekly. They don't need to attend weekly, but everyone should have the opportunity, and that's the duty of the host organisation. So here I've listed in Liverpool, but this is not about Liverpool, it's about anywhere really. But in Liverpool, you might have one host that is the site for the weekly sessions, or you might have to use multiple sessions places, because we've got no money, is one thing. So in Liverpool it might be Ship and Mitre, the Quarry, and then there is the new kid on the block, online Zoom sessions. And that's so fresh, I'm not really going to incorporate that into this presentation. So what is required as a place? I'm going to say we just need a housekeeper, someone who opens and closes the venue and need not be involved in the content, i.e. we don't want to burden them with responsibility so they won't say yes. So then there can be a session facilitator, and they're responsible for content, which may be no more than asking the room what do you want to do, and they may just say, well, let's just play, as in a gathering session. Or there may be a different design that might be workshop orientated, or pieces of work. That's up to the people in the room really. Then we just need a marketing team, and I'm not going to go into the details, but this doesn't really constitute work anymore, in my point of view. Is that once you have the documentation, i.e. a text document about the project and an image, you just distribute it via social media and an online website. So that's straightforward. The bad news is the interest in improvisation is very, very thin, and the density of interest is very, very thin. The cash flow doesn't exist. There's no commercial basis. There's even a cultural opposition to paying for such things. And so this is a bit disappointing. So weekly sessions cannot create a demand. But going back to that concept of momentum, if someone does attend and they have an interest, we maximise the opportunity to retain participation. Whereas if the frequency of attendance becomes more than a month, we'll just seriously weaken the ability to retain participation, especially by newcomers. I think that is a big point, really. And I hope you agree with me, he said. What's next? It gets worse, he says. Getting 8 people in a room. That's 8 people in the room weekly. So that's not the same 8 people. From what he calls a standing start, this might take 3 years. That's pretty depressing. But there isn't a plan B. If we look at the Liverpool scene, the local scene, it's very hard to recruit more than 4 people in a room. So what I'm saying is this is the way forward. There isn't a plan B unless you're really lucky and just happen to know a lot of improvisers. Or you can herd the cats, as someone might say. I'm going to move on. The good news is, as I said before, there isn't a technical reason not to do this other than our own inertia or the problem of room hire charges. But some areas will have some spaces that are free of charge for one reason or another. May not be available weekly, but that will exist. So even there, I don't think that's an obstacle. It's the duty of the organisation to resolve that problem, and that's what management is. Remove the obstacles. And more good news. As I said before, the arrival of Zoom and Zoom online sessions, and we have had proof of method with the blank canvas octet online. That's it may not be perfect, but let's not let perfection get in the way of the good. It's his good. And that's the end of this summary. So what are the big points? After 30 years of not doing weekly sessions, having gleaned from Oxford improvisers, taken on board the idea that improvisation can't be taught, it can only be learned by doing it. Therefore, frequency of opportunity becomes a key matter. In other genres of music, I can practice on my own. Debatable point, but that's what I'm going to say. Anyway, that's the end of this first draft of a video. I've probably gone on too long. Thanks for listening, and that's the end.